Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be talking about Quixel Bridge and how to get a Megascan asset into Unreal Engine. Right now you can see that I am using Unreal Engine 4.25. The reason for that is because I have an RTX card and 4.25 has real-time ray tracing enabled and completely usable. It's already out of beta and you can just use it within the engine, which produces really nice results. So if you have an RTX card, I recommend that you download the latest version. This is the latest version as of the recording of this video. If you're watching this in the future, you might be using Unreal Engine 5, which we'll be talking about later on too when it comes out. Now, the reason why I'm using Quixel Bridge is because it's so much easier to manage your assets with the Megascans. You can use the Megascans right out of the bat from the Unreal Engine marketplace, which is what I have right here. You have the Megascans, the Iceland, the Wasteland. I downloaded this when they first bought Quixel, and they just released these onto the market for you to play with. The problem with using these is it's going to download the whole pack into your project. That's going to make your project so heavy. It's like 25 gigabytes worth of assets in each single pack. So that is why you want to use Bridge, because it will make things so much easier and much lighter. So let's get to it. The first thing you need to do is, after installing Unreal Engine, you need to go to Quixel's website and you need to download the program. So you can download it for free after Epic bought the company. It's completely free for everyone, so just download it here. It's probably going to ask you to sign in. You can sign in with your Epic account. You don't have to make an account with them if you don't have one. Just sign in with your Epic account. After you've done that, and after you've installed the software, it's pretty straightforward, you are going to get presented with the screen. And one thing, when you're installing for the first time, it's going to ask you which engine are you going to use. Make sure you tell it that you're going to be using Unreal Engine. If you haven't done that, then you can go here to Edit, Settings, and you can change your engine right here. The reason for that is because to use the assets with Bridge, you need a plugin for Unreal. And just by doing this, it's going to actually download the plugin for you and have it stored within the program for you to use whenever you're exporting. So it's going to make things a lot easier. You could also define which folder you're going to be using for this. I recommend that you don't do the local drive because these packs are really heavy. So if you have a separate drive that's for your storage, I recommend that you use that drive. That's why you don't see a C drive here, because these packs are so heavy you're going to fill up your C drive pretty fast. All right. In my case, because my C drive is not as big, I have other drives for my engines. Now, whenever you select any of the assets, you're going to be presented with this. So you can see that you can look at your asset in a preview right here. You could also look at the maps if you want to see what each map would look like. Or you could just look at the 3D portion. You can click here if you want to maximize your window, which I'm not going to do because this window is actually smaller than my monitor. And you can select what maps you want to see. This is if you just want to preview your asset before bringing it into Unreal. This is actually a very nice little tool that we have right here. This is why Bridge is so important. Now, after you've selected your asset, I'm just going to do it right here. You're going to want to download, but before you hit that download button right away, make sure you go here. By the way, don't mind these points. Quixel Bridge and all the assets is free, so you're not going to be worrying about this. Now in here, you're going to have all the things you want to set up for this particular asset, or you could also do global settings and make sure that it's set to global for everything. I like to do it per asset because I may change from project to project. So in here, yours probably going to look like this. So let's go from top to bottom. We have texture resolution, self-explanatory. You can select your resolution. 2K and 4K are perfect for any video game. 8K is a little bit of overkill. If you're doing cinematic stuff, you might want to select the 8K. I am going to select the 8K because I'm using these assets mostly just to play around, make levels, and do cinematic stuff in Unreal. So I'm going to select 8K, and you can also select your LODs. Before that, I forgot the material presets. You can set it to Unreal Engine, or you could set it to any of the other engines that we have here. We have Unity, we have Offline. Offline just means renders like V-Ray, Arnold, Cycles. Cycles would be for Blender, Arnold would be for 3D Studio Max and Maya. And then you can also select your format here. FBX, just leave it at FBX if you're using Unreal Engine. Now the LODs is the other part that I like to change. Because I'm just messing around with it, I'm not making any particular game with these assets right now. I like to just leave one LOD. I don't need several LODs because I'm not trying to make it as optimized as possible. I just want to have the best quality that I can get with these assets. That's the reason why I also like to download the high poly source. The high poly source will give you the heaviest and most highest resolution asset they have. This is all something that might come into play when we're using Unreal Engine 5, just because if you watch my video, which I'm going to link in the description, you could do very high poly assets in Unreal Engine, or at least that's what they say in the presentation. So this might come in handy whenever we're using Unreal Engine 5. But as of right now, I still like to use the high poly source because this is as good as the asset's going to get. So I like to test that. If the performance is right, then I may just straight up use it. The other thing that they have here, and I'm really happy that they do, is the source C tool. So the C tool is if you're using a ZBrush. If you use ZBrush, this is a great thing because you can just take this asset, make variations of it, and you can just use a simple asset for your whole scene, and you just go into ZBrush and make it different, make variations of that. That's really cool that they allow you to do that. The other thing that you might want to revise is the maps. So these are the maps. For Unreal Engine, you're just going to need albedo, normal. You're working with the roughness. If you are by any chance working with specular and gloss, you could use these, but we're using Unreal Engine, so that won't be necessary. We can use the roughness, the normal maps, very necessary. The displacement, you'll notice that it says JPEG plus EXR. The EXR is just a higher, it's a heavier kind of format that's very uncompressed. So it's very raw, and that would allow you to make a lot of modifications to it in Photoshop. So it's good that they give you that option. You could also do EXRs for the other maps. I'm just going to leave it as it is because I don't need EXRs for the albedo. But if I was doing any changes like coloring in Photoshop for this, the EXR will come in handy. So once these settings are done, all you have to do is click download and just let it be. It will take a little bit depending on your connection and how heavy the asset is, and you can see the percentage of downloading right here. I'll be right back once this thing is finished downloading. Alright, my asset is already downloaded and hopefully ready for use. Now you're gonna see that I'm not able to export it out. It's not allowing me. There's like a no sign on this. So what you need to do if you get that means that you have not installed the plugin yet. I want to go into export setting to do this. In here, you're going to tell it to export to Unreal Engine. Select your version. Usually, if you just install it, it's probably on 4.24. Make sure that you select the version of the engine that you're using. So if you're not using any of these, make sure you browse it over here and use that version. Otherwise, this thing is not going to work. So I'm using 4.25. And now you're going to select an installation folder. And for the folder location, what you want to browse for is where you have installed your Unreal Engine. Usually when you install Unreal, it will save it as an iteration. So if you're using 4.25, make sure you go into the 4.25 folder. Make sure you go into the engine folder and look for plugins. Inside plugins, you're going to install that here. Then you select the folder, and it's going to, as you can see over here, it's automatically telling me that Unreal has been successfully installed. And now we proceed to the project location. So this is the part where you're going to tell it where exactly your project is. So when you open that, project is automatically inside your project, so you don't have to import it from somewhere else. So I need to make a new project for that. Okay, I'm going to make a new project here. You have various presets now. This is actually kind of fun, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to get into games. You go next, you select the blank project, and in here make sure you have ray tracing enabled if you have an RTX card. I usually choose no starter content because I'm bringing my own assets, but just make sure that you're in maximum quality and ray tracing enabled. Make sure you give it a name as well. So let's do test tutorial. And another thing that Unreal Engine doesn't like is when you do spaces. So make sure you don't have any spaces. I usually do those little floor dash. And I create my project. Okay, I'm just going to open my project first before we actually bring the asset in. Here is my brand new project, and if you haven't noticed that before, now you have something here, the Megascans, and this means that the plugin was installed correctly. If you didn't see that little message that popped up when Quixel was installing the plugin for me, this is another way that you can tell that you have the plugin installed within your engine. If you don't see this, that means that you didn't install it correctly. Make sure you go back, rewind the video, make sure you follow the steps that I tell you to follow. Usually the causes that I've seen when the plugin is not installed correctly, it's mostly because it's pointed to the wrong folder. So make sure that if you have different versions of the engine, make sure you send the plugin to the correct version of the engine that you're using in that plugin folder specifically. So now that we have this, we can actually bring our asset in. So I'm just going to go to bridge. And as you can see, my export button is now usable. It's no longer giving me the same problems that it gave me before. The thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to point it to the folder where my project is located. There you go. And I'm going to click export. As you can see right here is exporting the asset into Unreal, export successfully. Alright, all my assets are in here. For some reason it was telling me that the smoothing groups were not exported out, which is something that I find weird because these already come with the smoothing groups exported out. And as you can see, this is an incredibly high resolution asset. It looks really, really nice. And I have all my things here. So I told it to go into the content folder. You can go into the Megascans 3D asset. This is the quarry. And let's just hide this piece. And let's just rotate it. Wait. Rotating that piece. Let's rotate this piece. Maybe this way. So we can have it facing the sun. Right now I have auto exposure. This is one thing that I always do whenever I'm working in projects because it's so annoying. Go to settings. Go to project settings. And make sure you go to rendering. Scroll down until you see your default settings right here. And I like to tick off auto exposure because it's just so annoying. Anytime you move, it tries to adjust, which is pretty much what auto exposure does. If you want to have that in your game, that's actually really cool. But while I'm working on my project, I find that annoying, so I tend to turn it off. Now here's your asset, and you can see it's really, really cool. If I get up close, this is very, very high poly. If we do wireframe, you can see that it's a really high poly asset. Let's get back to lit. And this is actually very game friendly. It's my engine right now, it's working really fast. It's not bogging down my system. The other thing that I want to show you is the material. So this is one of the best things about having to use Bridge is that when you export out of Bridge, you get a material that looks like this. So you can adjust your parameters right away, so you don't have to go into the material and create it and add all the textures, you have all the things that you need for that asset to work within your engine. If there happens to be something that you want to alter, like the coloring, let's say you want to add a different tint. Let's just add a tint to albedo tint. Let's just add a little bit of a tint here. Let's say a little bit more orange looking. And as you can see, it does change. Let's do something drastic like blue. And you can see you can change the tint of your asset here. That's one of the best things that has happened right now with the merger between Quixel and Epic Games, is the fact that you have all these presets. I think Quixel has done a wonderful job by doing these Megascans for us, and now we have all these things for free. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to get the assets into Unreal Engine. Hope you have a lot of fun with this. We're going to play a lot with the Megascans in later videos in this channel, so make sure you stay tuned, subscribe, like the video so more people can see it, and I'll see you in the next video.